Well, hello and welcome once again to Boom 11. It was indeed a super Sunday because we had a hat trick, a 30 run over, and a 99, which almost rescued a team. We have a lot to talk about, but I have with me Abel and Sandipani right away. Sandipani, I'll begin with you. It obviously has to be you. How many times in that game did you change your T-shirt? Because it just seemed like it was going on and off. For a while, it seemed like Gujarat Titans is going off because Vijay Shankar, by the way, held on to the orange cap, if I'm not wrong, for a while there. Then it seemed like KKR running away with it. Then again, suddenly Rashid Khan comes back with a hat trick. And then Rinku Singh just did a Dhoni. So, what are your thoughts on it? How are you? Are you still over it? It's been 3 hours after it, but are you still over it?
No, I don't think so because after the hat trick and once the momentum was gone, basically after Venkatesh Iyengar's wicket, I was quite certain that this was going to be another KKR choke, and it looked like that. And even though Rinku Singh pulled it off, he had come to similar terms with it in the last season as well against Lucknow Super Giants, but just fell short in that last delivery. So yeah, I was just hoping it not to be like that once he hit those four sixes, but my gosh, two over covers, two over long on, and one that flick over fine leg. I mean, what a cricketer! I was so bent on coming out here on the live because honestly, it was Rinku Singh's innings of 8 of 14 balls that actually hindered KKR and that actually derailed KKR because it put a lot of pressure on Venkatesh Iyer from the other end. He started tight to hit, got out. Rashid Khan came in, did his magic, picked up three, and then not just a hat trick of superheroes. I mean, Andre Russell, Sunil Narayan, and Lord Shardul. So three wickets, three very critical wickets, power hitters, so as to say for KKR. So once that was done, I think it was Rinku Singh's fault partly because he was not at all timing it like last day. For the first 14 balls, he was just 8 of 14. And then 40 runs of the next 7 balls, that is something superhuman. I don't know whether anybody will be able to replicate it. 39 needed of 8 deliveries, and he pulled it off. He pulled it off a 31 run over to, and thank you, Umesh Yadav. Thanks to Umesh Yadav for taking that single, or he was trying to smack it out of the ground, but thanks for his missed time that it landed on somewhere around mid on, and that gave the opportunity for KKR to now eclipse Gujarat Titans on the points table as well. So yeah, great result that way. A perfect game.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, well, let's talk about Gujarat Titans and their batting today right away. Because, I mean, we will come back to KKR's batting as well, but what an incredible knock, wasn't it, from Vijay Shankar? It almost seems like this dude is Ochoa from the football side of things. Moment there's a World Cup, 50 over World Cup, Vijay Shankar, the Lord, rises from his sleep and he just smashed it around, and he was batting in number 5, by the way. Something that he did today. Do you reckon we have had to eat our words, at least for this one match?
I mean, yes, at least for this one match, we had to eat our words. But there's one thing about Vijay Shankar as well. This season he's been batting pretty well for the change. Whatever opportunities he's gotten, it's not like he's done anything bad. He's done a decent job. Scoring those 20 runs, scoring those 30 runs, whatever it need be. But I think for Vijay Shankar to take off, you had to have a base, and that's where Sai Sudarshan once again came really good for them. Came at the right time, scored those valuable runs, and he was a point of difference. If you look in the entire batting order, which could have possibly collapsed as well. But then Vijay Shankar's knock came out of the blue, man. I mean, ultimately, you could have blamed Shardul Thakur as well if things couldn't have gone Rinku Singh's way and KKR's way, because last match's hero was this match's villain for them, because the last over where Vijay Shankar scored, I think 20, 22 runs, 24 runs or something. So that was the difference. That was the difference which took them to 205, and ultimately it required a Rinku over to close it down. So it was Yash Dayar, also Shardul Thakur, who was going to be the villain for the respective team, because Shardul Thakur, that is one thing which you get with him. One day he will put you on a high, next day he will be an absolute ground. So you'll need to have this kind of patience with Shardul Thakur. That's he's a volatile cricketer, and that's something a lot of Indian team knows. Chennai Super Kings themselves knows, because he's come not good for them, and they really needed him to come good. So these things happen, but then I have to take before we If I even talk about Vijay Shankar, I think one thing about Vijay Shankar was after last season he had an injury and he underwent a surgery. After that, he has come back pretty strong. 300s in the Ranji Trophy, and now to be scoring these runs, I think it's going to give him a world of confidence. I mean, sometimes it's so important to appreciate these players who struggle so much and score runs because we've been so much critical about him throughout his career, and fair enough as well. There are reasons why we have criticized him, but the way he scored today, I mean, you have to appreciate him. I think he won't get the limelight today because someone else took it away in grand style. So unfortunate for him. But then you have to give
Yeah.
limelight to Rinku Singh as well. Look at the struggle he has had. Last season he had an unfinished job which he couldn't do against Lucknow Super Giants. He finished it off this season, so I'm so happy about that. If you look at Rinku Singh's stats in Ranji Trophy, let's not talk about white ball cricket. He averages 60 in Ranji Trophy after 59 innings, and that's an impeccable stat. Not a lot of people have averaged close to 60 in Ranji Trophy, or even there. Uttar Pradesh has always struggled in the last season, unable to score runs towards the latter end, and Rinku Singh always has stepped up, and that was the difference. And that experience of playing in the domestic cricket showed today how much he can go out there and contribute for the team. I would say that's the greatest ever finish I've seen in IPL history. There is nothing better than this. I know he joins the elite list of hitting 5 6s in an over with Rahul Tewatia, but then most runs scored in the final over to win a match. I mean, come on, man. That has to be some elite mentality. But there was also some poor ball from yesterday, I had to add it.
Yeah, but I mean, I have to talk about this, right?
No matter what, even if you ball five full tosses in the final over, it's still with 28 needed of five balls. It's still a bowler's game on
Yeah, I
9,999
mean,
times out of 10,000. I mean,
all,
it was
all
just
Yashdul had to
amazing
do,
hitting. Yeah.
all Yashdul had to do was ball two non-boundary deliveries, and
And
or
the
not
first
only
delivery
two
was a non. I
non-boundary,
mean, he just had to ball one delivery,
one more.
non. Yeah, just one more non-delivery,
Yeah, I think
non-boundary
when
delivery. Yeah.
there are days like it, right? But let's talk about Gujarat Titans, right? And if you really look at their scorecard, you would actually realize, Sandipani, that they haven't really maximized those 20 overs because Ridhiman Saha scored 17 of 17, Shubman Gill 39 of 31. Sai Sudarshan did a very good job, 53 of 38, because you can't really expect him to play better than that. Abhinav Manohar again came in, scored 14 of 8, and then Miller 2 of 3. Miller didn't get any more than 3 deliveries. You reckon that's also the reason why they really had that downfall? Because given the fact that yes, they did drive KKR all the way till the final over, the match was in their grasp, but to have scored 204 and have so many players scored just above run a ball, that really shows they could have actually ended up scoring 232, 235, and they really just did not, utilize what they got.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like Nitish Rana said at the post-match presentation that they bowled well till the 18th over. It was a surprise to see Ahmedabad being such a high-scoring ground.
Yeah.
I did not expect it to go to 200, and it looked like a belter because the way Venkatesh Iyer was batting at the middle, it looked like he was batting at the nets for the last 2 days. But I think it was a very decent batting pitch, something which even the home team did not quite expect. So I think at the start of it, they would have been happy with a 180, 190, like Sai Sudarshan said in one of his interviews that 185 to 190 they thought would be a good score. But that later last moment ammunition from Vijay Shankar actually bolstered it to 205 or 204. So they were
Yeah.
pretty happy going at the halfway stage at 204 because it looked like if you just ask me 205 at Ahmedabad, KKR chasing, it looks almost impossible because we know. And once again, KKR today as well. First 6 overs, 2 wickets fell down. They could not maximize the power play, and hence both Venkatesh Iyer, Nitish Rana, and Rinku Singh, all of them had to play a blinder to take KKR through. Having said that, I think Gujarat Titans were not really prepared for a 200 sort of a pitch. So they just came in. Gill did what he does, lay a foundation. Sai Sudarshan built a foundation, and then when the launch pad was ready, it was all on Vijay Shankar, players like Vijay Shankar, David Miller, who did not get quite a few chance today, but it was on the likes of Vijay Shankar, Tewatia, David Miller, Rashid Khan to just take the game deep and score as much as they can because as they said, I mean, in the dugout, I think Nehra, Gary Custon, everybody would have been happy with a 190, 195 at the end of the first innings because they couldn't really assess the pitch or assess the conditions.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about now KKR's batting, right? And we have to talk about Venkatesh Iyer. Back at the top of the order, you wouldn't still say he was opening, not his favorite spot, yes. But the moment he entered, the time he entered, it was almost equivalent to an opener who had faced what three, I think 3 overs, if I'm not wrong, that's why he had come into
Yeah,
bat.
yeah. He came in the
Yeah,
third
I think he
over.
came into bat in the third over after Ramana Gurbaz got out. So now this is exactly what we spoke about, right? Venkatesh Iyer loves to bat at the top of the order, and he can do a fine job there. You reckon they should stick with him at least at number three and not really tinker with his batting anymore? Because now with Venkatesh Iyer, Nitish Rana, and Rinku Singh, what they did today, it really looks like a solid middle order. That was what our worry was when it came to KKR. Now, do you reckon these are the three players in the middle order now?
I
Yeah,
would
I agree.
rather have a Rinku Singh. I would rather have a Rinku Singh at number five only when KKR are losing early wickets, when they have lost 3 wickets early. Today, I even though the innings that he pulled off, I would still have sent Andrew Russell instead of Rinku Singh at five, because I feel Rinku
Hmm.
Singh
Yeah.
at that moment coming in and taking the. I wouldn't have minded if Russell would have come in and tried to take the ball out of the park and gotten out, but I think it's just something like the commentators mentioned as well. KKR with their tactics are unabashed with the fact that there are three left-handers coming in at 3, 4, and 5. So that is something very interesting to see. But I would love this combination. I love Jagdishan getting a chance in place of Mandeep Singh. That is the highest positive that I'll take out from this game, even though he did not manage to really make a mark on this game, even though he took a beautiful catch running back. But I still love this playing 11 combination with them experimenting with Venkatesh Iyer as an impact sub. At number three, you can probably have a Jagdishan as an impact sub in other matches when they are batting. And if KKR is bowling, I would love to see a Suyesh coming in and being the impact sub when they're bowling second. So all in all, I think they have found the best 12 or best 13, so as to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much it from the first match. All right, I think one final thoughts definitely on the hat trick that Rashid Khan took. Abel, what do you reckon? I mean, he really did hold himself till the last minute. You felt like he did, and he did not actually have a very good game till that 1 over, right?
Yeah,
The three
yeah.
overs he had been smashed all around the park by
Mm,
the two lefties of Venkatesh Iyer
mm,
and
mm,
Nitish Rana. It was a very uncharacteristic day for him, but he held
mm,
himself back. And then when
mm.
he came, he almost brought them in. I mean, how many times does it happen that you take the hat trick in the 17th over and your team ends up losing?
Well, not very often. And you see that it's a very rare sight in cricket in itself to pick up a hat trick. Then you going on to lose the game is another thing altogether. And for me, I thought Rashid Khan was extremely well played by Venkatesh Iyer and Nitish Rana. And you did mention about Venkatesh Iyer enjoying to bat at the top of the order. He hates batting on top of the order because if you look at his domestic cricket, he is not batted on top of the order at all. Entire domestic career is batted number four, number five, and that's been his position. And one season he got to do that. He had a little bit of success, and you again tried him, and he's struggled in the last match as well when it came to open. I think he's a phenomenal player of spin, and that's what I think today you saw what he can do against spin and against quality spin. You're talking about Rashid Khan, who he went against. It's just Rashid Khan's quality to come back out of the adversity and pick up those wickets. Only Rashid Khan would have done it as well. Any other bowler would have had a horror day. If not for the hat trick, that game would have been closed out much earlier. That Rinku Singh magic also would not have happened. Let's put that also
Yeah.
right there. So I think that's why I personally think sometimes it's so important to understand player value and where they fit in rightly. Venkatesh Iyer for Team India as well, he was told to bat in the middle of the order because he's a phenomenal player of spin. And I think one thing which Gujarat Titans really missed today was Hardik Pandya, because if Hardik Pandya would have been there, Yash there would not have balled his 4 overs. That's one factor which you need to consider. In the last two matches, he only balled 1 over each, and today he balled his quotas 4 overs, and he went for what 69 runs in 4 overs,
Yeah.
possibly the worst figures for a bowler. And as Kapil also mentions, it's such a downgrade for any bowler to come in and just go for plenty of runs today. But I just say uh, I don't think Gujarat will be too unhappy about what happened. It's just one of those days. And for KKR personally, I feel there's something brewing there under Chandrakant Pandit. Two games,
Yeah.
two different match winners out of adversity. That's something which you saw from Gujarat Titans last season. So these are the matches which they'll make them believe now that they can win from any position. And that is a boost that champion teams have.
And that's going to be crazy. If KKR can now believe that they can go on to win matches from any point of stage, I think Rinku has done it now, Shardul has done it. Now, if couple more people step today, Venkatesh already did. Now, if one more person really wins it for them individually, having different match winners in different games, that's going to make them believe. I know first match now, looking back at things, it could have possibly gone KKR's way as well. This could have possibly been 3-0 for KKR because Shardul was better.
Exactly, and I think for starters, I think it is very good to see. I mean, Abel is starting to believe that he can have his hair purple after the
I
IPL, so
was just
it's
about
great.
to say it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also I think that is why I was so agitated with the Punjab Kings game, because it could have been 3 out of 3 easily, 46 of 24 with Umesh Yadav, Sunil Narayan, Tim Saudi, all left in the hut. It was possible. It was, and Shardul Thakur and Narayan were still playing. So yeah, but I think they'll take it. 2 wins out of 3 games. This is a great start
But
for
just to
them.
add to that, I think KKR's bowling is still an issue. I think if they
Death
want to
overs.
concede death
Death
overs is
overs.
still an issue.
With Russell
Yeah,
not bowling, I think that is going to come in and bite them pretty much towards the later half of the
and
tournament.
that's why I personally feel Russell should be dropped and David Wiese should be brought in because Russell is not giving anything with the ball, and Russell is not scoring runs also. So in
But
that
come
way,
on, KKR are not going to do that. Everybody knows KKR are not going to
I know,
do
but
that.
then sometimes you might have to take tough calls. If Russell has a couple more bad games, I think they will look beyond Russell because there is a David Visa
But I
who's a
think the reason
like
it's
replacement there.
possible, I think the reason why it's possible that that can happen is because you have a new coach at the helm. Chandrakant Pandit doesn't have the sort of affection that previous coaches or a previous system would have had to someone like Andre Russell. And there's nothing against Andre Russell, but we all have to be frank. He's his knee injuries and the fact that he's had that knee injury for a long time has really restricted his range as a player. But David Vite would not be a bad option because he can do in the depth as he can do what is required in the depth as well. And not to forget, he's someone who's a handy bat, and he's again done, especially for the past and for Namibia and for teams that he's played. He's done that finisher's role as well. But let's talk about the next match. Obviously, we have to talk about how Punjab. We didn't speak about it yesterday, right? Punjab seemed like the team which would struggle this year. Sunrise seemed like the team should do really well, but it was the opposite. However, today we have to say that Punjab did show their true colors. Complete collapse. It was an absolute pandemonium. I'll just read out a few numbers. You might think I'm giving you my phone number, but Prab Simran 0, Matthew shot 1 in 4. Sam Curran is probably the only one other than Dhawan who touched double figures. Then Raza 5, Shah Rukh Khan 4, and then the tail just starts.
Yeah.
Sam Curran again, it was obviously an innings that Sam Curran would have played. We've seen this happen with Chennai as well, but he's never at that position. He was just your delaying the inevitable kind of a player. But now today, and I have to say this, I'm glad they played Mayank Markande. I've been crying out loud, and Mayank Markande is very much a bowler who can be your number one spinner if you give him the right amount of development and confidence. He showed it today. It was an odd Hyderabad pitch, though. You have to really say that because it was a pitch which supported spinners a lot. Now, let's break it down, shall we? Let's start with the fact that they played also someone like Marco Jansen and Bhuvneshwar Kumar and
Mm.
Marco Jansen. I love them together because I really think both of them very good new ball bowlers. And Marco Jansen can also ball in the middle overs as well and take a lot of wickets. So he's an enforcer kind of a bowler. Now, Abel, talk me through this power play, right? How well did this setting of Marco Jansen and Bhuvneshwar Kumar come together for them?
I mean, firstly, I think the best thing what they did was to bring in Mike Markande, as you rightly mentioned, because me and Sadibani as well after the last game, we were very clear about how they should be bringing in a change in their spin bowling attack. Because when you have an overseas spinner, it takes up a slot, number one. And if the overseas spinner is not an all rounder, it's a waste of a resource as well. Now, with Mayank Markande, what you get is a proper bowler, but definitely a downgrade in batting, and that's where you can play different players. You can play either a Marco Jansen on a day where you feel like it's swinging a little bit. You can bring in Fazlak Faruqi when you need it's a drier condition where the ball is going to stop a little bit, or bring in someone like Adil Rashid, or then Glenn Phillips as well. So go in with three proper overseas players, and the fourth one can be an option. And I think Marco Jansen is a phenomenal bowler. I think he has. I know last year he went for plenty of runs towards the latter end, but then I don't think you should use Marco Jansen towards the lateral end. Today also you saw them leak a lot of runs towards lateral end. That's where I'll come back to again saying Kartik Tyagi should be a part of this squad. I don't know what more he should do because Natarajan looks out of sorts for me. Even today, though they went on to win the match, but one negative for them is still Natarajan's form. He's balling like a bowling machine now. No swing, nothing, just straight balls or full tosses. And Dhawan was lining up against him like he was lining up against a spinner today. And that is the worst thing. Lining up as a bowling machine rather, where he was able to control. But then I think what Marco Jansen and Bhuvneshwar Kumar did one thing right today was they made sure that they tried to swing the ball up front. Their lengths were much more fuller, and that was the difference. Once Bhuvneshwar Kumar gets a little bit of help, and alongside him, there's another bowler who can do that job, I think Bhuvneshwar Kumar becomes even more confident. That's something which I've seen with Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Bhuvneshwar Kumar is a much, much better bowler when you pair him up with a bowler who can pick up wickets from the other end. We have seen that with Mustafizur and Bhuvneshwar Kumar in his prime, or with Bumrah and Bhuvneshwar Kumar whenever they have played together. But when Bhuvneshwar Kumar becomes the only focal point where all the limelight is on him, then it takes a lot of pressure. Then Bhuvneshwar Kumar becomes a little more ineffective. I think there's a good pair, and going ahead as well, they should try it because Marco Jansen, you get that batter as well at number 8 who can come in and tong the ball a long, long way. Today, yeah, I think they'll be pretty happy with this win, first win of the season, and they should be able to build on this.
Absolutely. Something might talk me through Sunrise Hyderabad's innings, and let's start off with the likes of Harry Brooks. They tried him today at the opening spot. He looked a lot more comfortable, wasn't it, at the opening spot because he didn't have to face spinners. He was bowled by a delivery that I think not many batters expect anyone to be bowling a knuckleball in the power play, which is brilliant, very honestly, from Ashdeep Singh. Before he had a scare that it's going to be just another no ball. But Harry Brook and Mayank Agarwal, how do you like their opening pair? Even though they didn't work out today, but for the long term, you reckon that is a very stable opening pair because it also gives them Heinrich Klaasen in the middle order, whom we've been asking for, and that really settles their top five.
It's still if iffy situation for me to have Harry Brooks open the innings, because even though okay, Harry Brooks is much more comfortable playing pacers than the spinners. We saw with the at least he got a couple of boundaries before getting bowled. But with that, having said that, I mean there is Aiden Markram at 4, then you have a Henry Klassen at 5, followed by Washington Sundar and Marco Jansen at 6 and 7. So I mean the other opposition or all the other teams bat a lot deeper than what Sunrisers Hyderabad bat right now. And if you don't have a Abhishek Sharma or a Abdul Samad coming in either one of them coming in the middle overs, or if Abhishek Sharma comes into the party, have Harry Brooks in the middle order somehow at number 4 and number 5. But I think right now the right way, with Abhishek Sharma not being in their immediate playing 11 conditions, I mean situation right now. So I think right now they can stick with Harry Brooks and Mayank Agarwal. It's not a bad combination, and have a Abdul Samad float in at number 6, number 7, and then go after the bowling. So I think all in all it's a better side than what they posted, but I can't say the same for Punjab Kings. I mean, injury scares I understand, but Matt Short does not deserve a chance in that playing 11 for me. You have done some things in BBL. It is not we have seen it in the past. Players trying to come in. Players like Darcy Short of the same like surname. Darcy Short came in from BBL with high reputation, could not do anything. Matt Short, player of the tournament this time around in BBL, did everything for his franchise in BBL for Adelaide Strikers, but here
Yeah.
complete failure. I mean, was not even tried out with the ball. Well, Dhawan understood that the spinners was the way to go about it. Very happy with Mayank Markande's selection, and just gives you that thought that if Mayank Markande would have brought in as an impact sub in the last game, you could have seen Sunrisers Hyderabad on 4 points instead of a Lucknow Super Giants. So
Possibly.
very questionable calls previously, but I like that they are starting afresh. They dropped Adil Rashid, which was a very bold call for me, because Adil Rashid bowled really well in the first 2 games. But this is the call that they had to take. And I think the inclusion of Kartik Tyagi is another bold call that they need to take. Getting a floater in the form of Abdul Samad in the middle, and Sunrisers Hyderabad looks to be going upwards. We spoke about it. I mean, unlike Mumbai Indians and Delhi Capitals, Sunrisers Hyderabad does look to have a lot of improvement or scope of improvement in them, because they have of 11 which can go on and win you matches. It was just that
Yeah.
the tactics were not right.
Hmm.
Mm.
I still believe that there is a place for Abdul Samad in this team. You can always sub
I'll
him
just check
off.
the
You can
points
always
table meanwhile, just looking at the
yeah
congestion there. I think that's one thing which you have to bring up, as well as you did mention
yeah
about how many teams are stuck at. So no team is unbeaten now. All teams have lost a game, and that
yeah.
is what makes this IPL very interesting. If you look at the top 8 teams, I think
And
I'm afraid that it's going to be once again 8 teams who's going to be in contention, and last 2 teams going a little behind. I really hope it's not the case, but last season also you saw that happening. But this time around it's way more congestion, as Gujarat is also denied of their victory. I think this looks like to be one of their most exciting points table in a while. If tomorrow, if RCB go on to win as well, I think it's going to be top 8 teams, or top 7 teams on 8 points.
yeah,
Yeah,
Sorry, on
exactly.
4 points.
And
that
also
is
I
going to
think
be
with
very
10
interesting. I
teams,
think
IPL can now come up with some sort of calculations like in the BBL. For BBL you don't need 5 teams playing the playoffs because you only have 8 teams. But in the IPL, since there are 10 teams, you can probably have a 50% teams going through for the playoffs and probably have another eliminator. But it's still iffy, because the fifth or the fourth place team will have to play a lot of games to get
I
on the top.
think they can do something which ISL did. What they did was top top 6 teams qualifying, and that was very interesting because what I found very
yeah
interesting was number 3 plays number 4, and number 5 plays number 6, and top 2 teams are already there in the semi-final. So whoever wins that will get to, or you can say top 2 teams, one of them will wait for them. You can go either way. So you can play eliminator between 6 teams and see how it goes. I think that'll make it little more interesting, but I still think top 4 has got its charm as well, for that one
yeah.
spot. Last day,
No, I think
Mania.
it's fair. It's all right. We have the net run rate, and net run rate will become very crucial. That's why I think teams like Rajasthan Royals will be very happy where they are. Even Lucknow Super Giants. On the other hand, Sunrisers Hyderabad, they got a thumping win today, yes. But the kind of hits that they took, especially in that first match, or rather the second match, if I'm not wrong. And then also Delhi Capitals, the kind of hit they have taken, that's going to be the one which is going to be difficult. But having said that, that's pretty much it from today's matches. Tomorrow we have RCB versus LSG. Even a very quick thought: RCB are back at home,
Yeah,
and it was an interesting match when they were back at home last time around.
yeah.
Do you reckon they have what it takes to now beat the high flying Lucknow Super Giants?
I mean, Lucknow Super Giants, yeah, they won 2 at home, lost one away, and for RCB they won one at home and lost one away. So for RCB, I personally think it comes down again to how they're gonna put up their bowling performance, because last match I thought they lost the match conceding 225, and now Wayne Parnell coming into the team is an interesting addition. So it's going to be interesting whether are they going to go into that game with Wayne Parnell or David Willey, because David Willey put up a very good performance. The only bright spot for that entire RCB team in the last match was David Willey. Now, if we talk about Lucknow Super Giants, KL Rahul coming back home. KL Rahul loves playing against RCB. I mean, it's a way old record that whenever he sees RCB, his eyes light up. Smaller dimension boundaries, so many power hitters. So I think again it comes down to who can ball well. The team who balls well tomorrow will go on to win the match. Because in Chinnaswamy, it's often that it's always a game of batters, but then that one team who's got a little bit of advantage when it comes to bowling well, maybe closing or picking up early wickets, that team often goes on to win at Chinnaswamy. And for RCB, I don't think they'll be making a lot of changes. The only one change I'd like to see is maybe Mahipal Lomra playing instead of was it who came as impacts of last match? Anuj
Anuj
Rawat, yeah,
Rawat.
Anuj Rawat. Maybe Maipal Lumra number 3, give him a stable position. Let's see how he goes about it, because you saw Sai Sudarshan go about it. You saw Ringu Singh go about it. They all have a similar mold. Power hitters who can really take the game on. Left-hander power hitters. You have to give them the ample amount of opportunities as well. So I think this is a season for Maipal Lumra to come good. Having said that, I'll also like to see Wayne Parnell come into the team instead of David Willey. Just given the fact that
Yeah.
RCB is slightly struggling with the death bowling, so you need that experience of Wayne Parnell at least the 17th of April, because that's when Josh Hazelwood will return back to team. And one addition for RCB is tomorrow Vanindu Hasranka is back. So interesting to see who they're going to play. Michael Bracewell or Vanindu Hasranka. You have to play Vanindu Hasranka regardless of what happens. So whether you're going to sacrifice a fast bowler for Vanindu Hasaranga and play Michael Blaze and Vanindu Hasaranga, it's going to be interesting to see tomorrow.
I mean, it could be possible that they do bring in, David. They might remove David Willie and bring in Vanadu Hasaranga because um, I too want Wayne Parnell to play because I really think, even though I wanted him to play for Yellow, I know now he's playing for RC, but I really think he's a player who can bring a lot of value to IPL teams. And very surprised that he did not make it into the 11 after having the kind of performances against India in India. After having the kind of performances he had in SA20, very surprised. I at least expected Delhi Capitals to go ahead and pick him because that's where he played for. That's the team he took to the finals, right? That is a sister franchise that he took to the finals of SA20. So I was very surprised. But great to see him here, and I think he'll be a huge value addition for RC because they've also got an extended batter, right? I think he's a much better batter than David Willey. Nothing against David Willey, he can be a great player, but he's a floater at best, and you don't know, he might come off, he might not come off. But with Wayne Parnell, I think he's a little bit more a surety there. He's got a little bit more skill when it comes to a batter. So that's where I'm very interested to see how tomorrow's games progress. But having said that, it's pretty much it from us for today.
I mean, just
Very
forget about everything. I feel the death overs for RCB is going to be a huge factor, and that is the only reason they can't have both Hasaranga and Michael Bracewell play tomorrow. Because if you have Hasaranga, Michael Bracewell, that means you'll have to give way to David Willey.
But
Will
I
go out of the
think
team.
the issue there, Sandeman, is again the batting gets a little weaker, and that's also one thing that RCB are worried about, right? Once the top order is not working, who really takes up the mantle in the middle order? And
But
Glenn
I
Maxwell
would.
hasn't been doing that.
But would you rather
So
have a Mohammad
no,
Siraj
you
and
have to play Manu Hasranga, and that's where I'm a bit worried
I don't
that
think
they
RCB will
might
play
go
more
with David Willie
Bracewell
and
and Vanindu Hasaranga in one team. They will go with definitely Parnell or Willie along with Hasaranga because in Bangalore you can still afford to go in with that option of not having that extra batter because smaller dimension boundaries you expect power hitters to come good, and that's why you think someone like a Maipa Lomror can do a better job than what Michael Bracewell might do at number 3. So you have
But
to
tomorrow,
entrust
I
that.
think Hasaranga will have his works cut out because you have a
Yeah.
Kyle Mayers, you have a Nicholas Puran, and you have a short boundaries.
So
So
yeah,
it's going to be very
it's not gonna
interesting
be
to
easy.
see how the
It's not gonna
Candid
be
One
easy.
approaches this.
It's not gonna be easy. But then one good part is these Caribbean players do tend to struggle against leg spin. So that's why you will have to try your best to play someone like Vanindu Hasaranga. And today you saw leg spinners often tend to change the game, whatever situation they come in. And last season, if you look at it, Vanindu Hasaranga was the differentiating point for RCB in many of these matches, even including that eliminator where he came in and picked up Deepak Huda when he was going for plenty of runs as well. So that's why I think Vanindu Hasaranga's addition into this team is invaluable, and he's coming after a decent series as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes.
So it's going to be Hasaranga and Willie for me
Yeah.
instead of Parnell
it
and
should be, it
Bracewell.
should be ideally. That's what I also think it should be. But it's going to be interesting to still see what the RCB camp thinks tomorrow. If they really trust one of the younger Indian batters to step up in the middle order, which I hope it's what they should do because I still believe they've got the quality. Someone like Maipal Lomror, I think if you give him the right opportunities, he can make it into a good player for RCB. And he is a best bet as well in that squad. Having said that, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. I really hope it's going to be the same excitement that we see in tomorrow's matches. Some hugely interesting moments today in the IPL. Moments we'll never forget, to be very honest. Shikhar Dhawan's 99, what an innings. I mean, we couldn't speak much about it, but just great to see that innings. He held it together. I think he was a one key, as Abel mentioned, Sandipani's mentioned before. He was the one player that this Punjab team needed because he's got a level head on his shoulders. And if not for him, they would have imploded for 60. It would have been one of those games. And we would have been doing this live a lot earlier. But thank you guys for joining us. And we'll be back tomorrow. And not to forget, make sure you download Boomer 11 on your Apple App Store or Google Play Store, whichever Android or iOS you prefer. Um, I know they are. I know which site has which. Okay, this shouldn't be a joke in the comments. So once again, make sure because whoever wins, you can win on Boom 11 regardless. So thank you guys.